This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where it's all about getting the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. Brought to you by Itamar Shafir, founder and CEO of Umbrella, the technology platform and brand that is powering thousands of marketing agencies around the country. Find him at umbrellaus.com. Now, here's your host, Kevin Pruitt.
This is the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, and my name is Kevin Pruitt. It's my honor to host this great podcast, and we have a great guest today. He is helping businesses grow fast AI employees that sell better than humans. Co-founder at DreamCrew, focusing on web-based AI sales employees for virtually any business. Join me in welcoming Yoni Belson to the podcast. Yoni, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, it's great to be on, Kevin. I really appreciate your time and looking forward to speaking to your audience and kind of sharing with them what we're doing.
Well, we certainly wanted to do that, but I always ask our guests to kind of round out the bio intro slash, foundation here. What else do people want to know that would help them kind of have a better understanding of who you are?
Oh, interesting. I think one interesting thing that people don't really pick up on me is I was very much into academics, traditional institutional academics. I went to UCLA. I graduated summa cum laude when I was 19, and for
as
a
one
while
does. I mean, come on, as one does.
No, but what's funny is that
amazing.
I actually the reason I had done that was not because I was super smart and just had to I really had done it to kind of run away. I was there. I had a good time, but it almost felt like too much of a good time, if you know what I mean. Too much time. I was also studying political science. I actually ran an agency at the time that was guaranteeing mediocre high school students admittance into either UCLA, UC Berkeley, these top schools, and it worked really well. We got I think over a dozen students into one of those schools. And what I kind of realized when I was 19 is that college is really not meant for 95% of people. Unless you're kind of going in for the hard sciences, unless you're coming in as an engineering student, or there's something very specific you want to be in, or you want to be an academic, I think it's actually probably the exact opposite of what many young people should be doing.
That's interesting, yeah.
And I had this kind of realization, and I just basically decided, you know what, let's just graduate, let's just get out of here, and kind of shut down that business. Because I realized in good faith, I probably shouldn't be sending more and more people into UCLA to get 100K in debt and study, in my case, political science, which is not anything I'm really professionally involved in anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, kind of hard to monetize that degree at that kind of debt level for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a gateway to law school, which is interesting because I don't know why law school should be a graduate degree in general, but okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, I that was my first real I kind of realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur and not a part of quote unquote, maybe the system. And kind of my first job, I was actually hired by the CEO of the US's largest debt broker at the time. He did I think $80 billion a year in debt. And I was hired to help start their equity division, which is really exciting. And, this was my first job, super, fresh face. Never really been on Wall Street before, but there I was, and I was kind of co-leading this. Not co-leading it, but I worked very closely with a former VP from Goldman Sachs. And I got to work, on billions of dollars worth of debt and really experience what it was like to kind of build something, but from a nice, cozy, safe environment of a real corporate place. So
with a nice parachute behind you.
Yeah, exactly. The nice parachute. I didn't have to succeed. I just had to, not lose. not. And I did that, and then eventually, a couple of years later, I transitioned to some startups. I realized, software is definitely where everything is heading towards. Probably had this realization a bit too late, but I jumped into a few different growth roles at a few different startups. And then what happened was 2 years ago, for those of you who don't know, I actually co-founded DreamCrew with my dad, Mike. He handles more of the tech side of things, and he actually also comes more from the traditional marketing space for SMBs. So I saw what he was working on and realized, especially what was going on. This is right before, this is probably 6 months before ChatGPT was released. I realized that there's no other option. I just have to work with my dad and build DreamCrew. And that's where we're at now, 2 years later.
So did you see this coming on the horizon and something that you were kind of speaking into, his business saying, hey, Dad, I see this with a fresh set of eyes here and say, this is the future. We need to move toward this.
Yeah, it's a great question. Because basically our original thesis was that businesses have trouble communicating their value online. That was really like the core problem. And what I mean by that, and kind of my dad had noticed this at running a marketing agency, is that you can be, let's say, the greatest roofer in the world. You know all about the different kinds of roofs you can put in, the processes, the time frames, giving quotes. You have great quality service. Everybody knows about you, but you, for the life of you, cannot create, high value, great content that drives sales online. Like that's a
Hmm.
different skill set completely. On the other hand, you have a marketing agency, which might be amazing at writing content, but they actually don't know anything about roofing, let's say.
Yep.
So what we did actually, the way that DreamCrew kind of started was we had this app, and many of our users actually still use this app today. But basically, what the app did is it let the SMB owners document what they were doing, speak into the app, so they take photos and basically talk into it, and then we have at that time GPT-2, which is so
Hmm.
long time ago. We actually had to pitch OpenAI on this idea. It was like that long ago.
Yeah.
We had basically the AI turn these projects that they were working on into high value, highly personalized case studies that kind of fill that gap and help businesses communicate that
That's
value.
what a great idea.
Yeah, and it worked really well.
Hmm.
We were driving a lot of traffic to these businesses, but one major issue is that, you get people onto these websites, but they would never convert
Hmm.
because the same issue would be there. They just, again, they couldn't communicate their value online. You come to the website, generic photos, generic text, like,
Yep.
be like any other, website. And in fact, that, there's a lot of startups that do that, one click, website creation for roofers or doctors or lawyers, because they're pretty much, at least on the surface level, all dishing out the same services. They're all the
Right.
same, but that doesn't convert. So what we ended up doing was we built a sales agent, totally AI. It took everything it learned about the business, like through all the case studies it ingested, and even just, scanning their online presence, seeing what it could learn about the business. And basically, you put it on the website, just one line of code, and it actually started speaking to website visitors, having conversations. The same way you walk into my store, 30% of the time, if you're walking into my shoe store, you're going to walk out with some shoes.
Yep.
We're bringing that experience to website, so it's not just generic anymore. You're actually speaking to, something, and that
Hmm.
something actually understands your business very well. If you're, let's say, if you're looking for you're speaking to a contractor, right, and you're looking for a kitchen remodel and you're speaking to this sales agent. So it can actually show you kitchen remodels that this company's worked on before. Like, hey, you're based out of, Santa Monica, California. We actually did something in Santa Monica. Here's a modern kitchen we worked on. We'd love to show it to you. So the same
That's
way I would
incredible.
normally sell with testimonials, with case studies, with reviews, build my credibility. That's how the agent works. So it wasn't
Hmm.
generic, it's actually communicating the value of the business. And that worked, significantly. That worked, way better than we would have expected. We were engaging over 40% of website visitors conservatively, and usually converting anywhere between 20 and 40% of those conversations into booked appointments or leads. So
I mean,
it
those
worked
stats
really
sell
well.
themselves. I mean, you start talking those percentages, those return on time, return on
Yeah.
investment, return on ad spend. I mean, those are amazing results. So,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It was not expected. We weren't taking stats like that for granted. And when
hmm.
we saw it, that's how it was performing. It was, we were very thrilled.
Did it update real time? Like let's say that you you worked on a new kitchen, did it automatically update and like show the most current, was it a real time type response, or did you have to continually update it? You understand what I'm asking, how I'm
Yeah, yeah,
asking the
yeah, for
question?
sure. Yeah. So that was the beauty of it. It would it self-learns. So it's learning from all the case studies that are documented, all the work that's being documented, and it's also self-learning from conversations, which is really cool. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always testing out different kinds of openings. You
Mm-hmm.
could always it's infinitely customizable. So you could always
Yeah.
say, start with A and then go to B and then go to C. But because it's like works like a salesperson,
Mm-hmm.
and it works through stages. It knows to first, let's say, qualify, and then do a needs analysis, show how you have, services, and then show case studies. Because it goes through it goes through stages. The same way I teach a salesperson, I tell them, first do this, and then this, and this, and I won't tell them say this. I just say, do these steps. because it works like that, it also gets to test different things, different sales methods always for not only your company, but for your industry. So it's always getting smarter in live. So that's
No,
the beauty of it.
that's what I
That's
was
the
going to
beauty
ask
of
you
AI.
about. Is it limited? Is it a closed environment, that it's learning from, or is it like the entire construction industry learning from your competitors? I could almost see it being like a consultant, for
Yeah,
my business
exactly.
too, that says, "Oh, by the way, do you know your competitors are doing this and you're not?" I mean, multiple use
Yeah.
case.
Will maybe we'll eventually get there. We're thinking about that a lot. It's there's so many use cases with AI, which is the beauty of it. All of a
Hmm.
sudden, we have these like infinitely scalable conversational agents that can understand something as well as hope maybe one day as well as we can. But maybe even a lot deeper. It just creates this whole, this massive opportunity, especially for SMBs, when business owners are often, self-operating a
Hmm.
business or, you know, training salespeople takes a while. Finding them is rare in general, and then often they don't work anyway. Like when you're dealing in such a competitive space,
Yep.
with often like very commoditized services and business owners that might they're an expert at their craft, but they're not necessarily an expert in everything they need
Hmm.
to be in order to grow their business. The idea of having an AI that just understands your brand, understands your business to the T, and then can just find ways to help you. And sales is probably the most significant way to help someone.
Hmm.
The opportunity is near infinite. So that's what we're really excited about here.
So let's talk about the 10,000 pound elephant in the room around kind of sales bots, the whole chat bot. So I actually clicked on the demo on your website this morning before we jumped on the call here, and I was kind of listening to it go through this role play, and frankly it was amazingly accurate and amazingly personal. I mean, it just sounded like a conversation between two individuals. But how do you get it to the point that it doesn't break down somewhere? Like, you ask it an off script question or you have an off script response or whatever, and it just doesn't, like, fry its little circuits and doesn't know how to respond to that, or says something
Uh,
completely like non-applicable. How do you get it to that really accurate point of the spear, where it's like almost indistinguishable between,
great
me calling or someone else.
Great question. So there's I guess there's two elements to this. There's getting it right when it comes to just sticking to its purpose. So if it's a
Hmm.
sales agent,
Hmm.
sticking to sales and not going out and giving estimates for the total mass of the sun. And
Right.
then there's the other element, which is not to hallucinate, which is also I think both are probably equally important. Maybe hallucinating is a little bit more important. And when it comes to the first, the way our agent is trained, it's like its mission is the way our platform works, or the way it's we've built it basically, is that it's purpose based. So we have the sales agent. Its only purpose in this world, like the reason why it lives,
Hmm.
it's not, thankfully it's not alive yet, but the
It's
reason why it
raison
lives,
d'etre of the chatbot.
yeah, the reason why it lives is to sell. So if it ever gets something that's not helpful for sales, and support is, by the way, part of sales, but if it
Hmm.
ever gets something that's not relevant to selling, it knows how to basically either just tell it, hey, I'm not here for that, or bring it
Hmm.
right back into sales. But it understands that that's its life mission. So it's not going to go give you scientific quotes or give you a estimate on like interest rates in the market. Like it's not going to do that kind of stuff. It
Hmm.
knows this is what I'm supposed to be selling.
It's not Siri.
Right. It's not Siri. Exactly. It's not like a general purpose thing. Its purpose is to sell.
Yeah.
So that's one important thing. And what's interesting about LLMs, use a large language model, OpenAI, that's a general LLM, meaning it's actually
Hmm.
trained on everything, all
Hmm.
the information in the
Yeah.
world. So it could do all those things. So yeah, it's very important for us to have been able to, fine tune it and just kind of like make it understand that yes, you have access to, the
Hmm.
whole entire world, but your purpose is really just to sell. So that was one aspect of it, and that took a long time. That
Yeah,
wasn't an
that's
easy
great.
thing. The second part of it is
Hmm.
hallucinations. Basically, for hallucinations, we use a few different systems. We call it, one of them, our Insight Sphere. It's basically for those of you who want to nerd about it, it's like we use Pinecone as a vector database. We use our knowledge graph, Neo4j. and a lot of RAG. And what that basically means is that our AI is able to we're able to input a lot of information, unstructured information into the AI. You can, for example, just feed it your entire website, link it up with your Instagram, give it your Google reviews, your Yelp reviews, give it documents, hundreds of pages of support
Mm-hmm.
documents if you'd like. You can give it all this unstructured data, and it knows how to structure it, basically put it on like graphs, different graphs, and then reference that whenever a question comes up. And if it doesn't find the right answer, just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even if it's something that reasonably makes sense, then fine. But if it's not, just I don't know.
Right.
So that's an important thing. Getting a chatbot to not know something when it actually has access to, again, like everything ever created. But that was also equally important because
Mm-hmm.
you don't want your salesperson to be giving wrong fake services or wrong quotes or something. That's usually a reason to
Right.
get fired. So both those things together, making it know, yeah, you're here. Your point here is to sell and to
Mm-hmm.
convert, and say the right things. Were both things that we had to work on for a very long time, but
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, I think they work rather well now.
And the nice thing about it, I mean, like it is a learning model, so it is constantly improving even itself,
Yeah,
and
for
on
sure,
what it
for sure,
delivers. I
for
I
sure.
am
Both on
go ahead.
So both on our end and also, when you're working on with technology like GPT 4.0
Hmm.
and then, hopefully GPT 5, like it's only getting better
Yes.
too. So it's not even a bet on just DreamCrew. It's a bet on AI, which is the best part
Right.
for us,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and it's almost like it's going downhill now. There's no way to kind of stop that snowball that's rolling down the hill because
Yeah.
it's here, and we just need to learn how to live with that, and
Right. Yeah.
and and actually leverage it. But I am curious. So, like, just from a use case standpoint, like I could almost see it being like not only a salesperson, but like it's almost like the front door of your business that says, you know what, you come in, you ask me a question that's, say, support related, or it's related to finances or something like that, that is someone else. I could almost see it deferring and saying, hey, let me set up an appointment with, the person that can answer that question, instead of just like I ask you a question about billing and you say, let's talk about how I can, how you can buy a product again.
So,
Let's
yeah.
just circle back to what I want to talk about. It's like a politician answering a question. Let me answer that question by saying this. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
completely deflecting. But just
It's funny.
amazing.
So originally we were thinking about it. Yeah, originally we were thinking about it of actually creating many agents. That was the original idea actually behind DreamCrew, is many different purpose-based agents.
Mm.
So for example, for our startup, DreamCrew, we have a pitch agent. It just is, knows our deck, knows our
Yep.
business, and can actually like answer questions about our company. And it's really useful for people to kind of help think about what we do. But kind of how we've evolved actually, which is really interesting, is that the same way you mentioned like a business agent, right? It's not just
Hmm.
sale, like idea of like this business agent that is actually just a professional about your business. It doesn't just know how to do sales or just support or just marketing, but it's kind of this like is kind of general purpose about your business and just knows when to sell and knows
Right.
when to support and
Right.
knows when to give price quotes or whatever it is. So that's actually what we're kind of working on right now. So people are familiar. You've seen the text-based version of our platform, and it works really well.
Mhm.
The numbers speak for themselves. But where we're transitioning to now is, and I think a lot of our resellers right now are very excited about this, is kind of voice first. And what I mean by that is, and the idea of basically, we right now is a text-based chatbot. We don't like positioning ourselves as a chatbot because we kind of feel like it's a 10x on like what has been
Yep.
done.
Yep.
But what's interesting is that with voice, we've basically kind of, it's no longer a chatbot at all. What it is now, and what we're releasing, hopefully at the beginning of next month, so early June, is basically a salesperson in that
Hmm.
you can speak to it and it answers you. And you could also write to it if you'd like. So it's, we call multimodal, communicates via text, via images, via voice, but it's actually giving you that experience as if, you're actually speaking to a human. And
Hmm.
we're putting that on websites now. So it's the same process, just put one line of code, and instead of being text-based, you actually see a person there. You're able to speak to it. It's able to, if you're on the subway or whatever, it's also going to give you little bullet points of what it's saying,
Mm.
but it understands your business incredibly deeply And the
Yep.
same way you and I right now engage in conversation, this is the most natural way, humans have been speaking for thousands of years.
Hmm.
You can actually do that with the business through the business agent. So
Wow.
it's not just a sales agent, but this business agent that can actually like know when it's supposed to fulfill any specific purpose and just fulfill on that. So you just, one line of code, you're putting it on the website. Now you have like actual like a salesperson living on the website, living and breathing on the website. And and it's your business rep. So the idea is instead of, text-based version, it's kind of just converting traffic.
Hmm.
Here, if it's actually your business rep, what you can do is you can actually send it to people. Hey, you don't ask me here, check out my business rep. You have more people instead of having to call your business and you might only be available after 5 or maybe you're owner operated. So you're in the middle of a job and you have to answer the phone or honestly
Wow.
for me, I've always felt that like speaking to humans is like people are sometimes a little bit like iffy about like replacing like AI with humans,
Hmm.
especially because humans are I mean that's like the real deal, right? But
Right.
the problem is that when you speak to a human, they have to put you on hold, right? Or they don't know to answer your question, or they have to get back to you. With an AI, if it just has the information, then it can reference it, then
Yep.
it could tell you, So
And
that's
it's
kind of where we're
accurate.
moving towards. Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't wing it, well, I think it's around, 30%. Right.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly. It actually knows. It actually knows.
that
Yeah.
that is absolutely amazing. And I mean, I'm just thinking about as you were talking, thinking about imagine like a LinkedIn profile, that you has a contact button or a, learn more or whatever. You click it, and all of a sudden this person's talking to them,
Exactly.
saying, "Hey,
Exactly.
thanks for
Exactly.
clicking on that, but hey, let me tell you what we can do." And just I mean, it is like an instant Zoom call, that you're
Were you
having.
looking at our roadmap? This is actually what you're describing here is up and coming. We have the ability to you can put your avatars, you put your photo, you can upload your voice. It actually could speak like you. And the idea is exactly that, like speak to me now, and it's like an AI version of you.
Mm,
And we're kind of starting with web-based. So you get that one line of code you can put on a business, especially
hmm.
as a reseller. It's much easier to convince someone to put a line of code on their website, especially if
Right.
they know it's gonna 3, 4, 5x their amount of sales are doing online. But what we can do afterwards is the whole you can actually plug it in to your phone system via Twilio or get it onto a Zoom call. So like Twilio, obviously that's handling inbound calls, outbound. So no longer are you dependent on just your website in order to
Hmm.
sell. People are calling your business, it's late at night, it'll answer the phone for you and hopefully, answer that question or more importantly, book that meeting. And then for Zoom, what's really cool, especially for kind of like digitally based businesses,
Hmm.
like right now, me and you are talking, right? But I might not know all the answers, right? I'm not the CTO, but if I had right now my CTO business rep over here, and you asked me a question like how do you stop against hallucinations? I could you could say like what like I'd ask you like DreamCrew, like my DreamCrew Corey AI, like how do we do that? And it'll just answer.
Hmm.
So the idea is that is getting that business AI agent and just putting it everywhere we can for businesses. Everywhere they need a conversational agent, that's where it could be. That's where it could live. So I'm kind of maybe it's a bit Star Trekky right now. I'm kind of going like months into the future right now in this conversation,
You
but
have
yeah,
to.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
true.
you don't have any choice. I mean, if you're building for today, I mean, it's obsolete by tomorrow. So, I mean, you
Yeah,
really do have to kind of be, I'm building for, I was like Wayne Gretzky. I'm going to skate to where the puck is going, not where it is,
yeah,
currently.
exactly. It's also,
So,
by the way, also selling in this space. We've noticed
yeah.
that as well. Like a lot of the resellers right now, it's like you show them what we're doing with the chat, and it's wow. It's
Hmm.
it's great. But with AI, because of how quickly the space is moving, you always have to be like 3 moves ahead. That kind of
Hmm.
just has to be in your back
Yep.
pocket,
Yep.
because the space is
There's
just
no.
developing so rapidly. Yeah, so like for sure, absolutely.
So tell me, I don't know, kind of two minds here. I'm wanting to head in two different directions. So let me ask you one, and then we can circle back on the second one. So, is there an ideal business profile that this works best with? Is it a service-based business? Is it, manufacturing? Is it small to medium size? Is it large, 500 employees and up? What is like the ideal client profile, or is there one?
It's a great question. With AI, what's interesting is that you can build, typically how kind of softwares work is you kind of build for a niche and you do it very well and then you expand, right?
Hmm.
What's really cool about AI is that, especially the way we've been doing it, is that we can actually build for many different industries at once. Because it's not like it's built, these aren't like a string of automations that are built for, let's say, the hospitality industry or
Hmm.
the plumbing, plumbing businesses or whatever it is. Rather, it's something that understands your business and then uses that information to sell. So it could be any kind of business.
Right.
In fact, we've seen it also with e-commerce, which we wouldn't recommend just yet, but we've seen it happen. We've seen some businesses do it. The way I would describe the best businesses for this is consultative businesses where you
Hmm.
normally need some kind of consultation
Hmm.
before you buy. So, any kind of business where someone would normally call in and have a few questions and think
Hmm.
about it, like any kind of business like that could benefit from a conversational business agent
Right.
on their website, eventually on their phones, on Zoom, and
Hmm.
elsewhere. So that's normally how we kind of like frame it. And by the way, most businesses fall into that. People don't
Hmm.
realize this, but I think last I saw like over 80% of the US GDP is service businesses.
Hmm.
It's a massive space, and there's been a lot of startups, a lot of software companies that have been built more for like e-commerce type businesses,
Hmm.
product size businesses. Like
Hmm.
notably like Shopify, and
Right.
probably hundreds of other, actually hundreds of other
Hmm.
others of multi-billion-dollar businesses building for e-commerce type product size sided businesses, but for the services industry, which is actually like, like at least 5 times larger than e-commerce, there's actually very few examples of a technology that has become ubiquitous and it's just helped, people just sell, kind
Right.
of autonomously. The same way, what Shopify has done for e-commerce. So we're hoping to kind of bring that same effect to this like massive industry, and letting resellers, just, you know, bring it out to their businesses,
Hmm.
many different types of businesses. Right now we have anything from like tour guides using this to companies that like create like beer and home services, lawyers. It's such a wide range,
Hmm.
so it's really just we position it as anyone who needs some kind of consultation. That usually is like the easiest match.
I mean, I love the way you clarified that, saying, that it is something that is like there's a sales process, not just a binary, do I want a pair of shoes or not? I mean, it
Right.
is, I've got questions. I need you to kind of, I need you to talk me through the Zapier integration of your solution and my current state. What is that, how's it going to link up? How's it going to work? That type of thing. So I'm interested, but I've got more questions, that
Right.
I
Yeah,
need answered.
exactly.
So
Exactly. Where you want someone who's actually knowledgeable. That's the knowledge. That's the knowledge it brings. Yeah.
so you used a matrix reference I think it was in a LinkedIn post that you talked about, they're releasing this solution, and you said, hey, that who's going to be the first 100 to take the red pill or whatever. So I'm curious to tell me what the response results have been of the kind of that beta launch, of the first 100 or so, and I think it was primarily in the marketing agency space.
Yeah, sure.
But tell me what's been the results and what does it look like today?
So we actually, it's funny, we kind of like, I don't really call it always like a closed beta, but what we
Hmm.
did is we kind of launched initially to umbrella users. And the reason why we did that is because one, Itamar, is amazing. It's
Hmm.
just super easy to work with. He understands the space incredibly well. So he's very easy to work with. And he understood the value really quickly, and it went very well, which is very helpful to us as a startup.
Right.
For us, the less time we have to spend on sales is more time we get to spend on development.
Don't you have
Uh,
a sales bot for,
yeah,
for
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Next time, yeah, exactly. We're gonna send it to actually meet it tomorrow next time and for coffee,
I'm
and
going to
we'll
interview
look at
some AI's, podcast
in the
bot. That's
future.
what you're
In
going
the future, I mean, that's where we're going. That's where we're going. But back in October when we first did this, it seemed like the perfect match, and it was because this partnership has brought us, at least on our side, resellers. It's brought some people. They're selling already like
to.
dozens of these, but for us, it meant that we could focus on building the product while the
Right.
product is out there actually driving results and actually, we're actually getting real user feedback. So we're not building like a, like a black box,
Mm-hmm.
some random room in Siberia or whatever. We're actually
Yeah.
building with an audience. So that was amazing for us. We actually could not have anticipated the demand for, what Umbrella calls Sachi. We could not have anticipated that. And what I mean by that is literally like we launched and it was kind of like quiet for like a week while we were, we were bringing more people into the program and we're kind of like working out the final like integrations with Umbrella. And then all of a sudden, like I'd offered, probably a little foolishly to take all initial sales meetings
Mm.
with any kind of customer on behalf of agencies. And in my head, I actually thought like I thought it would happen maybe once a day, a couple times a week. Like it was actually, I had no idea that my calendar would have sometimes like up to like 12 meetings in one day.
Wow.
It was wild. It was
Yeah.
wild. I don't look I look back at that time as like it was incredibly exciting, but it
Mhm.
was just so like so nuts. And by the way, that actually inspired a lot of that actually inspired the idea of bringing the business rep onto Zoom calls and letting it
Mhm.
handle a lot of those, co-lead or even lead a lot of those conversations, which is coming up probably earlier next quarter. But yeah, it was pretty wild. I was the only one at the time running who was not a developer on the team. So it was just I was meeting with all these agencies and I was meeting with all their clients and we're handling at some point hundreds of tickets a week, like just about like different kinds of things. Some even a day, one day I remember we saw over 50 tickets in one day,
Wow.
and it was just me. It was
Yeah.
literally just me.
It's crazy.
So it was a lot. It was a lot. We scaled the team since then, which has made the process a lot smoother. At this point, back then it was taking over a month to actually onboard a business. The
Mm.
sales agent is one line of code. You easily train it, but a lot of businesses wanted specific customizations
Hmm. Yeah.
that took time that are now easier to do. But at that time, we didn't anticipate that we'd need to do certain customizations
Hmm.
that now you can do very quickly. And that's part of, building with an audience. It just makes, now it's much smoother. And also, we have a content agent that I haven't mentioned yet. A lot of the resellers are familiar with. It basically creates like actually the content product that I'd spoken to you earlier that we kind of launched with initially.
Hmm.
Um, that creates, high value case studies and blogs, and it's all personalized about a business. And for that reason, doesn't fall into any kind of AI detectors and is really helpful in local SEO. Manages Google My Business profiles, LinkedIn profiles. It's really
Mm.
really powerful. That was taking us, well over 3 weeks to onboard a business because we had to do like a real consultation. Like, what
Yeah.
kind of content do you need? We weren't doing at that point like a content gap analysis. It wasn't part of the system. It still isn't right now, by the way. Hopefully, will be soon. But we basically, it was taking a long time. Now, the onboarding process is super smooth. Now, within I think within 2 days, for like 80% of accounts, like they're fully onboarded with content also. So it's
Mhm.
it's been
That's amazing.
it's been much easier. And when we're going with this voice agent, we're also many of the resellers are familiar with the instant uploader backend. That's kind of like the generic name we gave it, so resellers, can kind of keep that gray label, and they can also, by the way, rename it so they can
Hmm.
name our platform anything they'd like. It's part of being a reseller. You could call it,
Right.
call it
Nice
Kevin
white
AI,
labeled. Yeah.
whatever you want.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly. So we actually also transitioning to a new front end that's hopefully going to make this much simpler for businesses to do it themselves, so they won't even need us.
Mm.
But yeah, the team's grown. It's not just me anymore.
Hmm.
On the non-developer side, we're actually three people, and two of them have years of experience working with marketing agencies that
Hmm.
aren't me. And like that, the process is now down to just a couple of days. So we've seen great feedback. Like conversions have been terrific, and it's been it's been great. Feedback has been really awesome.
And this, I mean, this is not just an indirect play. It's a direct play as well. I mean, companies can reach out to you directly. They don't need to have a third party that's kind of running those services for them and kind of helping them navigate those waters. I mean, the use case is so broad,
Yeah.
I mean, if I heard about this and I was, needing to generate sales and this, I mean, what a great solution, to you just kind of plug and play. I mean, fine, here's my content, you build it and let's unleash this thing in 48 hours and see what it does.
Yeah, exactly. We it's really that. By the way, that because it does so much, interestingly, it's been harder to kind of pitch it for a lot of people because it's like, how do you pitch, something that just does, it's going to help you run your sales and marketing.
Hmm.
It's for a lot of people, it's like too much to wrap their heads around. But I think that people have got a lot better at presenting, and especially the instant demo tool, I think has made it a lot easier. And what's cool is that the value is there. So anybody who
Hmm.
starts using it, they're immediately creating this really rich content. They're immediately converting, anywhere from 2 to 8 times as many people on their
Hmm.
website. And so the value is there. And I think agencies have become a lot better at positioning it as well. Resellers have become a lot better at it. We actually learned a lot ourselves about how to position it through launching through Umbrella and seeing how,
Yeah.
hundreds of various resellers are positioning it.
Right.
We have right now we don't let businesses go direct to us just because we're doing, kind of this exclusively right now with
Yeah.
Umbrella. Eventually we will open that to a certain degree. Just because and people don't really realize this. I mentioned earlier that like the services space is like 80% of the US
Hmm.
economy. It literally is. There are actually like millions of businesses out there that could use DreamCrew. You
Yeah.
know, it's actually ridiculous, and we haven't even to say we scratched the surface is it'd be offensive to the surface. Like we haven't even gotten there, and really, people could sell this all day, packages all day, and we just never run out. People would never even
Hmm.
hear about this until they hear about it from the resellers. So we're going to eventually open up direct sales. What's really cool and this experience that we're building, and it's going to help especially resellers position this, is we have this new, you're familiar with the kind of like right now, like the current demo tool, right? You put basically for anyone who doesn't know, you just put in a website URL and it launches an experience that is pretty much what it would be like on that person's website. So you can
Hmm.
be like, oh, I have this amazing salesperson, text-based salesperson I could put on your website. Here, this is what it looks like. When you
Hmm.
convert, oh yeah, it's amazing. Wow, it knows so much about my business. So that's the current experience. Where we're taking this to, especially with the voice agent, is that now anyone comes to our website or even your website, all resellers will have access to this. They see the salesperson engage them. It's waving at them. It doesn't really look like a chatbot. It looks a bit different. It's not actually just sitting on the bottom right. You have like the person that you can move around
Right.
the entire website. You
Right.
could you could text it. You could speak to it, whatever you want. And what it does is its job really as a demo is to collect your website URL. So to offer basically, I want to show you what it'd be like for your website. Can I get your URL? Then do a role play with the person in voice, what it would be like selling their business. So now all of a sudden you're positioning it like a human being, even, if
Hmm.
I'm a human being and I'm learning about your business now, I want to sell it to you to show you how good of a salesperson I am. That's what it's doing for you.
Right.
And then it's doing actually an ROI calculation, which is really
Hmm.
cool. It's like, what do you think of this role play? By the way, it could get much better, whatever, it takes feedback, right? I want to let you know that based off, your website traffic, I actually looked into it and you get, 3,000 website visitors a month. We actually expect to engage about 40% of people on your website and convert about 30%. And what that means for your business, let's say you're a lawyer and your average lead value is, let's say, $1,000. That means for us that now that we're speaking to 4,000, we're speaking to 1,200 people a month and we're converting 30%, 400 of them. That's like $400,000 a month that I'm going to be making for you just by putting this one line of code. Do you want a free trial?
Wow.
Um,
Yeah. No, I
Say
don't think
yes.
so. I think I have enough money. Right.
That's the power of this. That's the power of this. That that
Crazy.
that you just have to get enough people to experience this demo. You're going to convert. They're going to
Hmm.
start a free trial right then and there, and within just 2 minutes, they can train this on their company, like on their online presence, add case studies, whatever they want, and get that line of code to put on their website. And by the way, if they don't have a website, or sometimes you have to wait for the agency to put it on. Sometimes there's issues there. They get a link that they can share, so they can still share this link and share their salesperson with their clients any way they'd like.
Mm.
So yeah, the idea is basically like anyone can experience this, super low friction, super easy to use. They put it on their website, and within a few minutes, they have this basically like immediate ROI AI salesperson who costs 4% maybe of what a salesperson would charge them, and it's just converting a lot more. You're putting your best salesperson on your website, so that's the idea, and we're making this available to all the resellers. So watch out for that. It's gonna, if you are a reseller, in a few weeks it should be available, and I think it should make it should give people a very big push, especially with this new voice experience.
Well, you successfully whet the appetite of everybody that's going to listen to this, and they're going to go, I'd like this tomorrow. And you're going to go, well, you stick around, here, it's coming, we join a waiting list or whatever. You can
Yeah,
get on
yeah,
that
yeah.
list.
Yeah,
So
we've been waiting the longest though, like
I get
building
it.
it, but it's almost done. So
Yeah.
I mean, it is done. It's just now we're just kind of fine tuning it and working on the front end, making it kind of more commercial. But
It's,
yeah,
it's great to learn lessons and iterate in a closed environment, too. So
yeah.
I think you can make those mistakes early, but man, I could literally just continue asking you questions and we could just talk about this all day, but you probably have sales calls you've got to get to they're scheduled for you, but I want to shift to our rapid fire round. This is kind of a group of disparate questions. You're going to go, what in the world is he talking about? But there's a method to our madness here. Itamar's brain, creative
Oh,
mind here has
exciting.
spoken into this. But I'm just going to ask you questions. I just want you to answer them just rapidly and just very short, quick
Let's get the
answers.
AI on. I want to get the AI on for this. I'm getting
Yeah, you
nervous.
cannot have a Yoni bot to answer these questions here. So, did you get along with your parents growing up?
Wow, right for it.
You're right for it. We don't waste
I,
time.
I was not a very pleasant teenager, at least to my parents. Probably to some friends I might have been, but if you're my teacher or you're my parents, maybe a little bit less. So I think actually that was one hesitation I had with kind of building this with my dad. But I was actually very fortunate to say yes and take the opportunity because we actually became a lot closer. I think I
Yeah.
have a lot more appreciation. I have a lot more appreciation for what he does. As a kid, sometimes you don't understand that,
Yep.
but now as an adult, kind of working with my dad, I get a lot more appreciation for what he does, what he's good
I get
at,
it.
and hopefully, I think that he's also learned to kind of see a lot of what I do, and I think
Hmm.
it's a great relationship, very healthy relationship. It's funny. There's I think it's on Crunch. Where is it? I think maybe on Hacker News or something, some like website for startups. I saw an article that married couples make the best startup founders, and it's sometimes I bring that up to potential investors or clients or whatever it is, and I'm like, whenever they ask about the relationship, and I'm like, it's basically all the benefits of that
Yep.
without any risk of divorce. So
That's
it's a
exactly
huge,
right.
yeah. So it brought us together. So I'm really, for me, that I mean that it's one of the most important parts of this for sure.
Yeah. That's great. You have siblings.
Yeah, I have siblings. I have four younger siblings. Um, I'm actually the oldest, and they're a little bit less into tech. So yeah, there's one of them's still in school. He's been learning kind of in a post graduate for like 3 years already or 4 years already. Another one, there's two of them still in high school, graduating high school right now, and I have one brother in the Israeli army. So
Hmm.
uh, yeah, so personally, I'm very proud of him for that. Yeah.
Do you have a pet or pets?
I don't have a pet. I don't allow myself to have pets because they usually don't last very long.
It's like
We
me
have
and
actually we
plants.
had a fish. We had a fish, and I have a 3-year-old son. I also have a year-old son. As of tomorrow, he's turning a year, or 2 days, he'll be turning a
Zoltov.
year. And we had this fish at home. It was like a red beta fish, and
Hmm.
every few months it just something would go wrong. We'd go on a trip and we just forget, or the neighbor wouldn't come feed him, or clean the whatever it happened. I just had to always like replace him. So we so my 3-year-old thinks that we've been having a little red beta fish named Alpha for the past 2 years, but it's
This is
really been
Alpha
like
4.0 is what this is.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
What time do you wake up on a work day?
I wake up to take the kids to school, to take the kids to kindergarten at like 7:45. So, but I go to sleep late,
Mhm.
so I usually go to sleep at 2. So I'm not,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you now. What time do you go to sleep? So yeah.
yeah, I go to sleep pretty late, but I balance it out. I don't think I'd be able to, it wouldn't work if every night it was at 2. So realistically, at least twice a week, I'm going to sleep at maybe 10:30, 11. So, but usually it's 2. So it's a little extreme.
Intersection of faith and work life. Sorry, work life.
Yeah. I see it as the same for me. I feel like God kind of, God gives everyone different strengths, and I feel one strength I have is I tried the rabbinical route. I'm Jewish, for
Hmm.
anybody who doesn't know. I tried the rabbinical route. I'm very into my faith, and it didn't work. It didn't work for me, and not because I don't love and appreciate those who devote their lives to religion. I actually very much do, but for me and my personality, I always felt that at least those who made the biggest impact on me religiously were always people who were actually working most of the
Mm.
time. And I realized that that's kind of what I probably have to do is go out and try to make an impact on the world like that. And so for me, they're very intertwined. I see God in a lot of my success and also failures all the time. And I kind of live with that. So I see it almost as pretty much one and the same.
Mm. If you were king for a day in the marketing space,
If I were what?
if you
King
were king for the day in the marketing space, what is one thing that you would take your golden scepter and change
in marketing.
just about
Um,
marketing in general?
one thing about marketing is that you're basically like, what is marketing? Like you're creating a market for something, right? And it's kind of this funny thing. It always kind of struck me initially as kind of this kind of ingenuine process of taking something that you want to work and then kind of maybe like, I don't want to use the word manipulating, but like trying to get that thing to into the ears of as many people as possible, potential
Hmm.
buyers. And that's a process we call marketing, making a market, and usually, use a lot of words for that. But what one thing I think is really powerful is just value communication. You know what makes, my grandpa, he lives in Los Angeles. He doesn't speak 5 words in English. He's been living there for 30 years. I don't know why, but it's crazy to me. I think he has like yeah, he's tried like a million tutors, but he's a world-class carpenter. He is
Mm.
one of the best carpenters I've ever seen. His dream also was to eventually, when we get a house, like our own house, like build the house. And he struggles because of marketing, because it's very hard for him, especially in English, or really in any language, like to
Hmm.
sell himself.
Yeah.
And one thing I would change if I could in 1 second is the idea of value communication.
Hmm.
He knows what makes his work special, and his clients know that. And really, it's just about getting more people to see that, but not necessarily through just like finding out the right way to say it, but more of just being able to show that and communicate that value. And I think that
Right.
that's kind of in a way what we're doing here at DreamCrew is we're helping businesses communicate their value, communicate their case studies, their testimonials, what people have to say about them, the processes they use, the materials, the quality of their work, in a very natural, conversational way, with hopefully as many people as possible.
Hmm.
So that's what I would change. Less maybe like Coca-Cola type ads with the polar bear, and like it works, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but more maybe authentic communication.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell them the authentic and real story
Right.
behind
Yeah.
the brand. So,
Exactly. That. Yeah. Exactly that.
man, I am so grateful for you taking time today and just sharing your story and I mean just I used this phrase earlier, whetting the appetite of our audience, for what's to come. But there's no doubt. I mean, this is one of the most interesting, exciting, episodes we've probably ever done on a just in an anticipatory level, of hey, I want this tomorrow type thing. So we'll make sure and have contact information in the show notes so people can follow along and when this thing launches, they can kind of jump on the bandwagon pretty early. But just thank you again for just sharing your story and just really adding value to a podcast that really wants to speak to agency owners to help them grow and scale their business. And I think this is what a perfect fit. You've got it here.
Thank
So
you, Kevin. I really appreciate you giving me the time and the platform, and getting to share this with you and learning a bit about you. It's been great. This is actually my first podcast, so I came with a lot of nerves. So I
hey,
feel a
you
lot
did
better now.
absolutely great. It was so easy to say, yeah, so natural. So and you're this is the real you, right? This isn't like the podcast bot we're talking to. So
And
yeah. This is the real
not yet,
deal.
not
So
yet,
yeah,
not
not
yet.
yet. Coming soon. So,
All
Yoni,
right,
thank you
Kevin.
again.
Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend and appreciate your time. Take care.
You as well. Thanks, Kevin. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another great episode of the Marketing Umbrella Podcast, where we provide the information you need from successful leading marketers to build and grow your digital marketing agency. To learn more, go to umbrellaus.com.